All right, hello. My name is Justin Lee, and this is Engineering 270 Technical Communication. This presentation will be an executive summary on one of the 14 grand challenges of engineering in the 21st century. I chose to do Prevent Nuclear Terror, and the article that I will be doing a summary on in this presentation on will be called It's Nuclear Terror. Terror, have we beat the odds or just changed them? This was written by Dr. Graham Allison, who is the Douglas Dillon Professor of Government at Harvard Kennedy School. It was in the magazine Prism, Volume 7, Issue 3, which came out March 15th, 2018. This is a up to date or a recap of his book that he wrote in 2004 titled Nuclear Terrorism and the Ultimate Preventable Catastrophe in 2004. All right, so that'll be the introduction. How to reduce probability of attack from 10% to less than 1% a year. What has been done to decrease the odds, and what have we done to increase the odds? And then it'll be the closing. So, like I said, article is an update to the author's 2004 book, Nuclear Terrorism, the Ultimate Preventable Catastrophe. The article is broken up into 4 sections, which we'll go through. He discusses both the positive and negative measures that have been taken by the United States and other nations that have led the current global environment, and discuss how the risk of nuclear terrorism can be reduced to a near 0%. All right, so this is probability attack at current level, which is 10% a year, but it is a cumulative probability. So after every year, 10% continues to grow, and you can see by the year 2030, we have a 99.95% probability of a nuclear attack via terrorism. This chart was actually come up with by Warren Buffett. A lot of people know he is he's a major investor, and he came up with this as a way to figure out if nuclear terror was something that he would be willing to place bets against, and and because of this, he prohibits his companies from insuring against nuclear terrorism. Now, this chart would show what would happen if we just reduced it to less than 1% a year. Even with the less than 1%, though, we could see that it's a cumulative probability. So by the year 2050, we're still looking at about a 40% chance that a nuclear attack could happen. Now, one of the problems with is preventing nuclear terrorism is the money. When you look at this chart here, this shows the causes of death in the United States. You got opioid deaths, car accidents, these are 30, 40, almost 40,000 people. But then you get all the way down and you see jihad terrorism, and you see that this is about 8 a year. So it makes it really hard for legislators to go through and say, hey, we need to spend more money on preventing these kind of things from happening, like monitoring at our borders that detect radiation, when the people who are voting for our government says there's no chance that this could even actually happen, or the probabilities are so low that it kind of seems like a waste of money. So in the article, he does go into the factors that have decreased the risk, and now this is from 2004 to 2018. So he's looking at a 14-year study, and it's a relentless U.S.-led campaign to destroy terrorists who sought to attack the United States. Develop defenses against terrorism to include the stand-up of fusion centers within the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. If you remember, before 9/11, we didn't have a Department of Homeland Security, so that has helped a lot. And also the TSA and border security. Multi-billion-dollar increase in funding to intelligence groups targeting terrorism, heightened public awareness to a terrorist threat. But that's one of those things that, as time goes by and we don't have another attack, people start to kind of lose the main point of it. And so it kind of falls on the back burner, especially in this day and age when we have a lot of stuff going on at home that people just really don't understand why we are spending the money. U.S.-Russian nuclear cooperation, U.S.-led nuclear security summit process that create action forces deadlines, the complete removal of nuclear weapons usable material from over a dozen countries, most of them former Soviet bloc. More than 50 civilian research reactors shut down or converted from a high-enriched uranium to low-enriched uranium, and the Iran nuclear deal that halted Iran's nuclear advance. Now, these are things that have increased the risk of terrorism. inexorable advance of science and technology, diffusion of nuclear know-how. I mean, back in the day, it was basically the Americans and then the Russians and then a few countries here and there actually had the research and the know-how to develop fissile material. Uh, as everything gets thrown on the internet and just the way the communications work, and people were willing, especially from the former Soviet bloc, a lot of the scientists, when they lost their jobs, they went to other countries to help them. North Korea's growing nuclear stockpile is seen as a validation for rogue states that nukes equal security. And the problem with North Korea is that they are willing to sell their technology to pretty much anybody who will pay for it. There's a nickname for North Korea. It's called Missiles Are Us. They've supported many countries who would normally not have the technical know-how and provided them with weapon systems. Metastasis of terrorists. U.S. airstrikes and special force raids in 7 Muslim-majority countries. Pakistan's growing nuclear arsenal and development of tactical nukes. Now, the problem with this one is that Pakistan shares a border with India, and both Pakistan and India both have nuclear weapons, and they have been in a 70-year battle essentially for this little piece of land that borders both of them called Kashmir. And so there's a huge fear that the Kashmir conflict could result in them firing nukes at each other. And then there's the collapse of U.S.-Russian nuclear security cooperation after Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, erosion and confidence of the non-proliferation regime, potential for large-scale reprocessing of plutonium in China and Japan, a growing possibility that the Biden administration will let Iran escape the nuke constraints on its nuclear ambitions. So in closing, preventive actions taken since 2004, both in counterterrorism and counterproliferation, have been extraordinary. Avoiding a general nuclear war, of which the United States and Russia would be the first victims, is an absolute requirement for surviving to have the opportunity to do anything else. The United States must continue to invest in new technologies to enhance our ability to detect and prevent the smuggling of nuclear materials. And if we pause and reflect on what our lives will be like the day after a great city in the world is devastated by a single terrorist nuclear bomb, there's nothing we can do no less. This is the work cited, and that's the end of my presentation.